I want to talk about the origins of a term I like to call social nihilism. What is that? It's just the fucked up rapists, serial killers, antisocial, bestial people. They're just a menace to society. They're just straight up trying to fuck everything up for everybody, and they're just fundamentally incompatible with norms, with people getting by and trying to live their lives peacefully as normal human beings. That's what I call social nihilism. And you think about it, and they're like, the origins of this problem with our society, we have a low trust society. They're like, the origins of it is mass migration and the cultural difference. And it's, first of all, motherfucker, it's nobody's culture that you can go around raping people, and nobody has that culture. In Pakistan, people don't want that. Nobody in the fucking world, whether in the Middle East or elsewhere, has that as their culture. So to be clear, these are lumpen criminals, the lowest of the lowest scum that are being imported into Europe and sometimes America, and then this is what they do. A lot of these people are criminals, and in their home societies, that's not normal what they're doing, okay, first of all. And then second of all, I would say, look, mass immigration has caused a lot of social instability, let's call it. But then I started thinking about some shit. When did social trust break in Western societies? Was it after mass immigration? No, it wasn't. Do y'all remember how in the 70s and in the 80s, a lot of fucked up shit started happening where they're just the rise of serial killers, John Wayne Gacy, Jeffrey Dahmer, children being kidnapped, like a lot of fucked up, unspeakable. Fuck, have you guys ever heard this? Charles Manson, have you ever heard the story? This is the most fucked up shit that's like the most underreported thing in US history in terms of like serial killers. That one fucked up guy who had like a van and he would kidnap people and he would have this torture van. And he'd keep them there for like months and months. Do unspeakable things. Like extremely unthinkable fucked up shit. Yeah, whether it's MK Ultra, whatever it is, that shit was before the mass migration. And that is part and parcel of what destroyed social trust in Western societies. And what is it? What was it? What happened? Okay, let me explain it in a way that's not as fun as just saying it was a bunch of brown and black people. But it's a red pill. Okay, it's going to make you smarter. It's going to make you more informative. It's going to have you're going to have a brain instead of being a fucking retard. There was a metabolic rift sometime in the post-war period in terms of how human beings were being socialized. Now, before post-Fordist society, let's call it, socialization was a strictly local process. Almost entirely, it's a local process. Your family, your village, your community, that's what's socializing you. It's other people that you're living with. That's where you're getting your socialization from. So that is like the norm, okay, for human societies since the beginning of time. But with the rise of what they call information society and mass media, the socialization process by which people come to adopt values, emulate behavior, expand the threshold of their social or antisocial imagination, and acquire the dimensionality of mores and behavior in relation to others, that started not being a local thing. That started being a consequence of information. So socialization became more and more dependent upon the abstract flow and dissemination of information. Now, what is information? Information comes from without. It is a way in which forms acquire determination and emerge from in the word information, there is always a dimension of externality that is being evoked in that word, okay? In order for there to be information, it has to come from somewhere else and shape the formation of things from without. Information society. The more society became, in terms of the socialization of human beings, the transmission of mores, values, and behavior, the more it became dependent upon information at scale, mass information, and mass media, same thing. That is when there was a metabolic rift in the socius. Now, what is the metabolic rift that I am talking about? The metabolic rift where people's social imagination was no longer determined by this sacred, unspeakable weight of mores, behavior, and social expectation that came from your locale, and there was this infinite plasticity of potential possible permutations of behavior that was opened up as a new horizon as a consequence of the rise of the information society and mass media and mass culture. So to put a long story short, let's say in the 50s, how everyone is behaving and what the norms everyone is obeying is like, okay, this is normal. In my locale, this is normal. My peers are doing this. This is normal. My parents say this. This is the norm. Now, look what's happening with the counterculture. It's literally called the counterculture. There's a metabolic rift. Now, it's more like, okay, I can imagine myself doing this. I can fantasize about doing this. I could desire this. I could think of myself doing this. I could imagine this is possible. So why not fucking do it? That was the thing. Because behavior and socialization is now contingent upon information. It's no longer contingent upon what your family thinks or what your community thinks or what anyone thinks. It's now external. There's an externality there. Now it's based on this object outside of you that is expanding the threshold of your imagination and your range of potential behaviors and actions and possibilities. And that was called the counterculture. That's literally what it was called. What do you think disruption is in Silicon Valley? Silicon Valley is born from this. Silicon Valley is literally what says, hey, this is what's normal, but let's think outside the box. Let's think outside the box and do it this way because technically it is possible to do it this way. So why not fucking make it happen? That's the whole Silicon Valley consciousness and mindset. It all comes from the metabolic rift of the information age and information society from the counterculture. Okay? Now, before I continue, let me be clear about something. Here's the difference between me and Caleb Maupin. Here's the difference between me and every other fucking retard who talks about this kind of shit. I will tell you straight up, this is irreversible. There's no fucking way you go back to local forms of socialization. No fucking way. Information age and information society is historically progressive, objectively, according to Marxism. It is more advanced historically. It's just objectively irreversible. To be clear, I'm not here to say, oh, in the past, we should fuck the past. This is the now. There's no way of escaping information age. If I believed you could escape the information age society, I wouldn't be fucking streaming, especially not on Kick. I'm the best professor you ever had, by the way. Let me continue. This is the metabolic rift that happens sometime around the counterculture, or at least it manifests then. This is the neutron bomb that completely overturns and upends human civilization in general, everywhere in the fucking world. It's a neutron bomb. It cuts across and completely destroys and levels human civilization. And it turns the fundamentals of human socialization into an external object which relates to human beings as information. Okay? So everything from the past is thrown out in front of us as an object that descends upon us as information, and that's what shapes us, and that's what defines us and determines us. And there's nothing from the past that is relevant anymore. It's all in front of you. It's all there as an object, forward-facing. Now, I'm exaggerating because this doesn't happen all at once. It takes decades and decades and decades up to now for this to sit in. But look at the history of America and the world from the 60s up to this point. It is a constant invasion from the future of information society and the gradual destruction of all of the wages and norms that come from the past. So I've been talking about the generational wars. Boomers are the dinosaurs that are the last people that got socialized from the past. And then Gen X got a little more socialized by mass media like MTV or whatever, but still rooted in this past. Millennials, still rooted in this past, but they did experience the rise of social media. So in part, that has also affected them. Gen Z, okay, this is where things kind of get interesting. Gen Z is basically almost entirely getting socialized on social media, but they are not fully embedded sensuously in the world of information society. On the sensuous level of experience, they still have a nostalgia from the past. Now, Gen A, that's where things are getting interesting. Gen A, like Skibbity Toilet, if you actually watch it, it's fucking crazy. Gen A, which is obsessed with sounds and bizarre sensuous objects and partial object sounds, you name it, visual stimuli, they are completely the Death Stranding BB. They are like totally pod babies born of the information age, post-Stranding generation. And they have no connection to the past of the boomer dinosaur mythic age at all. They're totally cut off. So that is what we're dealing with. That's our situation. That's the context of this generational shit that I've been talking about. It's all about the supplanting of Fordist society by information society. And there's a case to be made that information society is nothing more than socialism, the socialist mode of production. That's it. Hey, I don't make the fucking rules, but according to Marxism, this great revolutionary change, and that's supposed to be what socialism is. This is about the destruction of capitalism and the rise of socialist mode of production. So this is why right after the metabolic rift, we saw the explosion of the most horrific, unspeakable, unthinkable serial killers, because it was like a neutron bomb and they were ground zero. They were like, okay, this type of psychopathic antisocial personality emerges, which is like, fuck, I can be the devil himself. Nothing matters anymore. Let me just fully suspend myself and all of my immediate carnal desires and wants. And they were ripping human beings apart, and they were like totally molding human beings according to it was sick. You see an explosion of the serial killers, 60s, 70s, 80s in England, in the US, in Europe. It becomes a huge phenomenon. And this is the immediate this is an immediate symptom. Now, after the 90s and 2000s, it kind of calms down a little. People learn to be sick fucks in the privacy of their own imagination. But look at the rise of the internet and how much sick, depraved shit is on there. I don't even want to think about it. But let's just put it this way. There's a whole market of people. I read it on the news. Monkey torture porn. Is it immigrants' fault that there's sick fucks into the monkey torture porn? No. We have that fucking problem, even if there's not a single brown immigrant that ever fucking comes to the USA or Europe or anything. What about their Western Hey, what's going on in Western civilization with the monkey torture porn? That was all rural, by the way, so it's not even any immigrants or foreigners involved. Now, you can't say this is a uniquely Western evil. All around the world is infected by what I call the disease, the virus of social nihilism. It's the complete annihilation of our humanity that was a consequence of the rise of the information age, because the metabolic rift of the counterculture totally destroyed and leveled entire civilization. So now all that we're left with is this extremely modular, extremely ambiguous kind of world of objects and world of information. And that can be fucking anything. How do we make that human? How do we make that compatible with the history of civilization? Now, that's what infrared is about. Infrared believes the only way out is through. We have to rediscover some kind of humanity or some kind of history or some kind of civilization through this barbaric, hyper-American reality we've been suspended in. And this is what hyper-Americanism ultimately is, and if you think about it in this way. But people say there's a Western civilization is under attack by Islam. Hey, look, you can talk about all the Pakistani pedophiles in the UK that you want, and grooming gangs. But Pakistanis didn't create the monkey torture porn. They didn't create this sick, depraved shit that was clearly here before there were any immigrants from without. The real, scary other is within all of society, worldwide, Western society especially, because it's the most advanced technologically, at least until now. I mean, no longer the case, obviously, but it used to be, was infected with a virus of social nihilism, a complete disregard for the dignity of other human beings, for the existence of other human beings, for the sanctity of human life, for any kind of regard for other people's well-being, in any kind of fucking way. And that's not even just because of individualism. Individualism is based on a principle according to which your individuality is some kind of ego ideal. This is even worse. This is not even individualism. This is a type of bestiality where you are so blind to anything, any object except the thing that's immediately going to satiate your desires. You don't even have a proper, fleshed out, comprehensive idea of what you are and what your selfhood is. All you have is what you want. Do as thou wilt is the whole of the law. So this is what emerges. Now, why did our humanity disappear? Because of the metabolic rift that is the information age. Our humanity disappears because we're unable to communicate our humanity any longer. We used to be able to communicate our humanity through the patriarchal world of prohibitions, of laws, of injunctions, of the regulation of behavior, and a sense of the gravity of the sacred, and, your forefathers' sacrifices, your father's sacrifices, whatever. That used to be the pre-Death Stranding world before the counterculture metabolic rift. After the metabolic rift, there's no longer a way to communicate the gravity of what a human being is. The problem of the information age, all the information is occupying one dimension, and you cannot distinguish the junk from shit that actually fucking matters. Put it this way, a cry for help from a fucking human being that evokes and carries with it all of the gravity and weight of a literal other human life is no longer distinguishable from monkey beatbox, the Buddha beatbox. It's no longer distinguishable from Tung Tung Sahur. It's no longer distinguishable from Nyan Cat or something, right? Because all those things are occupying the same dimension of information battle space. So how do you filter? How do you have discernment? How can we actually communicate what fucking matters, whether it's human life, whether it's human morality, whether it's civilization, whether it's anything that matters at all? How do we communicate that anymore? This is a fundamental existential problem that we are burdened with and that we're faced with. And thus far, the only thing tying us to civilization has been the false appearance of patriarchy. When I say patriarchy, I don't mean in the feminist sense, I mean in the more refined sense of boomer patriarchy. We're saying, well, the boomers had wisdom and the Gen X carried some of that wisdom, and the cool millennial. You know what used to be cool back in the day before Gen Z? What used to be cool, and this is the last lineage of patriarchy, honestly, is that showing that you're in the know about stuff the adults are doing. So like millennials would be like, I heard about this thing my uncle told me about, and it's come behind the corner. There's this new drug called crack cocaine, like my uncle showed me. That's what used to be cool. What used to be cool is showing I have wisdom about it. Actually, there was a point in like the 90s where it was cool to like know about Marxism. I dusted off these old books and like, yeah, I know about this guy. His name is Karl Marx. He had some really wild thing. Like that used to actually be a form of social attractiveness and coolness because like you were connected to this old patriarchy from the boomer era, and that disappears with Gen Z totally. In an age of flat information dimensionality where everything is indistinguishable, junk and gems, coal, where both the coal and the gems are indistinguishable, so to speak. The problem is that the only place in which our socialization and our civilization and our mores and our norms are being transmitted is there. There's no more real life. Is there such a thing as real life? It's bullshit. There's no such thing, okay? This generation, if you look at the statistics, they're all retarded. They're all socially retarded. They're extremely socially awkward. Men have zero riz. They don't know how to talk to females in real life. They're afraid of them, and everyone's like an NPC, and nobody knows how to make friends or anything, and everyone's like has social anxiety. Anxiety, keep on watching me. Whatever, they have these songs to talk about their social retardation. That's society today, and the only thing people can look to actually like be socialized is the internet, and not just the internet, but information, whatever form that takes. It's clearly not coming from anything local. It's not coming from their parents. It's not coming from their churches or whatever. It's coming from something that comes from without, that they're alienated from. It's alien. It's like an alien invasion. Social nihilism, what is that? Social nihilism is not even an ideology. Social nihilism is an existential predicament where socialization no longer has guiding principles that are compatible with the reproduction of society and civilization. So social nihilism is basically an inability to even acknowledge the substantive existence of other human beings or society for that matter in any kind of way, because the ability to discern the meaningful communication of social values becomes impossible in an age where it's drowned in a sea of bullshit, of information. And that's social nihilism. Now, what are the consequences of social nihilism? The consequences of social nihilism are literally like those TikTok pranks where somebody like has their phone and they go into an elevator and they're like screaming. And I'm guilty of sometimes when I used to live stream, I was guilty of some kind of social nihilism. I would troll. I trolled in public before. It didn't make me feel good. It never makes me feel good. But alas, I'm not even saying I'm better than anyone. Everyone's guilty of social nihilism in some kind of way, by the way. Everyone is. Social nihilism is taking taking many, many forms, okay? Today, it takes many, many forms, but anything that basically cuts across the meaningfulness of our social fabric in favor of the immediate consumption of information is what you would qualify and classify as social nihilism. You can go from pranker streamers, or you could go all the way to the Nazis who call people the N-word. Now, these Nazis that are going up to people and yelling the N-word, and you think this is because they have some principled commitment to some kind of racial theories about the white? No. It's because they are social nihilists who are perversely trying to cut across and violate norms, and there's a shock factor there. They're basically like serial killers. There's no difference. There's no difference with Ted Bundy. It's just what can you get away with? If these people could, they would take a shotgun and just like shoot people outside, and they wouldn't give a fuck and they'd laugh. It's just they can't get away with it. They'd go to jail. But if they could, they would. That's the test of civilization. The test of civilization is how would you fucking behave if no one was pointing a fucking gun at your head? These people would absolutely live stream. I mean, they did it. The New Zealand mass shooter who went into a mosque, he just fucking did that. And it was literally like one of those streams where they're calling people the N-word. It's the same thing. There's no difference. This is at its essence, it's social nihilism. Social nihilism, there's no understanding of the gravity and weight of human life or anything else that matters, frankly, in the age that we're living in, when everyone's being socialized through mass media and the mass transmission of information. And that's also unavoidable, that this is how we're being socialized. So the question is there a way to rediscover the ability to communicate human values? I think there is. And if I didn't think there was, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. For example, the American Communist Party. What kind of information does the American Communist Party communicate? Well, we do good acts. We valorize things that are pro-social. ACP is doing it. And the beautiful thing is ACP does it, and there's an ability to make contact. People see that shit, and they have this innate, this is the thing, people still have an innate understanding of right and wrong. But there's no way for that to be given power. It's no way for it to be given representation. It's no way for it to be given social gravity and social weight. We are creating a social credit system in the best sense of the word, where we are giving social value and social weight to things that benefit society, things that benefit humanity. And this is very important because there's no way to do it implicitly anymore. There's no way. You cannot communicate. There's no appeal to this in innate human nature. We are being socialized through the information age. There's no way around that. Absolutely none. And this is a fact. This is where we are. This is the age that we're living in. And the metabolic rift, it cut across every civilization on Earth. And it's a crisis for all humanity. And why do I think there's a prophetic world historical significance of the ACP, or at least somehow the ability to build a communist movement in this country, America? Well, I think because this is all the consequence of what you can call hyper-Americanization. In the hyper-Americanization, all the wages and bonds of the past get wiped out overnight. Year zero. And that's where we are in America. We are in ground zero of the neutron bomb that started World War III, which is information warfare. We're in ground zero. We Americans, we have nothing. I'll admit it, we have nothing. We don't have culture in the sense that Europe or the rest of the world has it. We don't have it. In the South, they still have, sure, but as a whole, taken holistically, as a country, as a unified nation, we don't have it. We are in ground zero in the Wild West with fucking nothing. Nothing. We don't have the lineage. We don't have some kind of, look, you want to know how fucking true this is? Someone pointed this out on X. I have personally experienced 10% of the entire history of the United States of America. I personally have experienced and been part of 10% of the entire history of the USA. Me personally, 1/10 of the entirety of the USA. Me personally, 1/10. Can you imagine that? 1 out of 10 of the entire history of what this country is. And this country, as a bedrock and as a foundation, doesn't have any kind of normative prescriptions as far as how we behave, how we interact, how we do anything. I'll tell you what's beautiful about America. We're not all savages, okay? We're not all evil people. But every interaction in this country, every single interaction, is the birthplace of a completely new civilization. When my neighbors need help, if they ask me for help and I go over and I help them or something, there's no normative prescriptions as far as what I'm supposed to do and how that's supposed to work. It's all always being rediscovered from scratch and from zero. If you have the basic intention of not wanting to harm others, wanting to do good by others, and everyone is like a child, nobody knows how that's going to play out exactly. Nobody knows what the mannerisms necessarily have to be. Someone asks, can you help help me move my car or something. Okay, so you there's a function. They need their car moved. But in a traditional society, there's a lot of other shit that goes into that. There's a way you, I guess, introduce yourself. There's all sorts. It's not just like this totally pragmatic, help thy neighbor by getting the results done. But in America, it's pure pragmatism. It's just getting the results done. That's the only way we relate to each other is through results. What do we get out of it, right? But whenever there's just an authentic human interaction between Americans that's made from a human perspective of good faith and whatever, it's always just a completely new creation of civilization from scratch. It's an encounter where both parties are learning how to coexist with one another without any prejudices or assumptions about what that should look like. And that's something very unique about America, is that the thing that we lack is also the thing that gives us a new fucking opportunity to do it in ways that cast off the rubbish of the old world and cast off the things that are retarding human civilization and history. So why are we best disposed to overcome this problem? Because unlike the rest of the world, we don't have the illusion that we can resist the Third World War or the information age. We can't. I mean, what do we fall back on? Let's say in Islamic society. Islamic society can literally just say, all right, shut down the smartphone, shut the TV down, everyone go pray. And do shit like how we did for thousands of years. In France, they could say, shut it down, shut down the internet, shut down the social media. That's what they're doing in the EU. We all go back to eating croissants. You name it. Everywhere in the fucking world, they have a backup that they can withdraw to. Or at least pretend and delude themselves into thinking they can withdraw into it. We don't. This is all we fucking are. We don't have a backup. We can't even sustain the illusion that there's anything we can go back to. There's so many white nationalists that are nostalgic. For what? For Europe. So go live in fucking Europe. We're not in Europe. This will never be Europe. There's nothing we can go back to. Oh, let's go back to the 50s. Buddy, the 50s is how we fucking got here. You just don't know what was going on behind the scenes. Everything that was happening, the military-industrial complex, the creation of ARPANET, the creation of the technology that was responsible for the 60s counterculture, all of that shit was happening. Behind the scenes, you just didn't see it. You just looked on the surface and saw a bunch of smiling families in these posters, but in the background, that was what was incubating the world today. And there's no going back. That's the fundamental thing that makes you an American, is if you have cast off the illusion that you can go back geographically and historically. Write that fucking down. Americans, definitionally, are those that have completely cast off the illusion that they can go back. If you're an immigrant who's contemplating going back to your homeland, you're not a fucking American, because you have some place you can go back to. If you're an American who's trying to go back to the past, you're not thinking like an American. So America is the now. It is modernity. And if we, the American Communist Party, the infrared movement, whatever you want to fucking call it, if we can rediscover civilization through the barbarism, if we can rediscover humanity itself and human existence through and after the neutron bomb that was the metabolic rift of the information age, then we are setting an example for the entire world. Only we, who have no illusions about going back into any kind of past, can go through this process, survive it, and give the rest of the world the vaccine to the virus that is social nihilism. Only American communists can do it. And I want the rest of the world to prove me wrong. But I fundamentally believe that. I believe that the rest of the world still is clinging to something that we don't have here. And that this something is illusory. It has been wiped out already. Does the past and all the traditions just disappear then? No, you're missing the point. It's like a blockchain where you have to decrypt the newest block and solve the puzzle for the continuity to be established. That's what we're faced with. If we can solve this riddle, if we can get the vaccine, we can get the key, we are rediscovering the past. We are rediscovering all the past traditions. We are finally acquiring an existence that is logically compatible with them. But that's not what trad LARPers are doing. What trad LARPers are doing is fucking Ted Bundy shit. They have this hyper-modern fantasy in their fucking head that's perverted of an anime milkmaid dress porn object And like, I want it. It's so wholesome. Like, that's what they're looking for. It's disgusting. It's a fucking sick modern perversion. The only way we can be worthy and actually like rediscover the logic of the past is by passing through the crucible of the now without flinching. The myth of Beowulf wasn't flinching. The guy with a sword who had to cut the heads off of dragons and shit, he didn't have a Skyrim milkmaid anime waifu. He didn't have a fucking wholesome. He was literally fighting a dragon. So like you look at the mythic past of the trad people worship, and it's full of fire and struggle. There's nothing wholesome. There's nothing about it you can retreat into. You advance forward, and then maybe you could be worthy. You can remember what they were fucking doing. There's no way to forget the past. If you forget the past, it's gonna haunt you. And that's what we've done to communism. We forgot. But life finds a way. The logic established by Lenin and the Leninist party and state tradition haunts us to this day. And we can forget it all we want, but it still remembers us. We can forget Lenin all we want, but he still remembers us. You can forget Stalin and Mao all you want, but they still remember us. And how do they remember us? They remember us because we are symptomally suspended in a threshold of historical and social and civilizational logic that they established, which we don't understand and can't make sense of. You get to a certain point as a revolutionary in the modern era where you start to fucking realize what everyone before you was going through. I'm not even saying I got to that point. I'm just saying that's how it works. Once you take a certain step, you're like, oh, that's what it was all about the whole fucking time. Like Lenin, at a certain point when he took a step, he's like, oh, that's what Robespierre was doing. That's what Jesus Christ was fighting about. That's what this whole fucking that's what this whole thing has always been about. Always. And it's like through the history of the Soviet Union, they kept making advances and they were like, oh, that's what Alexander Nevsky was fighting for. Oh, I get it. That's what Stenka Razin was fighting for. Ah, I understand now. That's what Ivan Grozny was struggling with and fight. Like, that's how you rediscover the past. You don't fucking do it by creating a wholesome past and saying, with a little dark age VHS, a 1980s thing with the return, the black bar crossed out on their eyes, and the letters go, return. I'm sleeping on my little dark age. Shut the fuck up. Literally shut the fuck up. And fuck the 1980s. And fuck anyone nostalgic about a fucking thing. Grow the fuck up. Play piano tiles. Arcade. Faster mode. You snooze, you lose. And don't do that fucking thing. Because I know some of you, when you fail and you fucked up and they're like, continue. Do not fucking continue. You end game, you restart. You get one take, you get one shot, just like Eminem said. All right, I know what else I wanted to talk about. So, this is what is meant by Hyper-Americanism. The whole secret of infrared lies in this Hyper-Americanism. Because Hyper-Americanism should make us rethink the relationship between how we experience time and this neutron bomb that is the metabolic rift of the information age. So, think of a saber-toothed tiger. Think of Pleistocene, Ice Age America. That's the America we're talking about with Hyper-Americanism, by the way. But rethinking our relationship to how we experience time. If what I'm talking about is correct, and if nothing of the past survives and has made it out into this brave new world and future that we're already fucking living in, by the way, every person who feels nostalgia should be burned at the stake. If that's the case, how should we think about the contemporaneity of how time passes in the present now? And the truth is, this is how. Hyper-Americanism means that there is no place in which we can retreat any longer in our experience of reality. We are forced to be infinitely responsive to every passing thing because there is no plan we can retreat into that represents any kind of aeonic time that transcends the immediate flow and flux of information and succession of events as they're presented to us through information. So people talk about, for example, trust the plan. I talk about it, trust the plan. Where is my plan? If everything is now suspended in information battle space, then the inability to continually communicate that means you have no plan. Where does it exist? It could only exist in the logic and structure that continues to reproduce and reconstitute itself. So the Chinese have a plan. We hope they do. We very much hope they do. A plan means a structure of time and experience that is transcendental. It transcends. I think in terms of Kant, right? It's a transcendental aesthetic that inframes the flow of the experience of phenomenal things. Now think of that in the information age and what that means for the information age. What does that transcendental kind of object, what could that possibly take the form of, or better yet, how could that possibly be structured or emerge or constitute itself? In what kind of way? And this is where I'd have to talk about Lacan. This is where I'd have to talk about something I hate, which is psychology, something I try to avoid at all costs because I think psychology is a bunch of bullshit, right? But we are talking about what Freud called the infernal depths of the psyche. We are talking about something that goes there. The Chinese Communist Party transcends modernity precisely because at the heart of it, at its core, is this transcendental master signifier that is rooted in the sacred experience of the peoples of the Chinese Revolution and War of the anti-imperialist war of national liberation against the Japanese imperialist aggressors, the Long March. And this is the bedrock of the transcendental aesthetic of the Communist Party of China and how it inframes Chinese modernity and presides over it. This is why the Communist Party avoids being a form of junk information. It is not one such brand among Gucci and all these other brands. It is above all the brands. Remember that image of the Communist Party above the Gucci store? That's how it is. That's a transcendental brand. It's a transcendental aesthetic, if you will. And China has this because of a sacred memory it has managed to preserve. Despite the destructiveness of the Cultural Revolution, despite this existential crisis China faced during the Cultural Revolution, it's managed to preserve this. We don't have the advantage of that. Okay, we don't have the advantage of having taken power 100 years ago and ruling over society. The Communist Party of China has that advantage. So the structure of power itself is communicated in a transcendent way, a way that distinguishes itself structurally and systemically from junk forms of information. We don't have that, and we can't have that. We will never have that, to be frank. But to continue, Hyper-American experience of time is a continual intensity of the experience of information, and more specifically, the information of society in terms of how society is changing. Now, one of the things they call this is meme wars. Okay, if your memes are avant-garde, if you're up to date. Okay, I'm super up. I'm on my TikTok. I'm up to date. Okay, I know about the Woody. Calm down, Woody. Where are your friends? Shut up, Buzz. I'm gonna kill you. Why can't we just be friends? Shut up, then. I'm gonna kill you. Why can't we just talk it out? Not this time, Bo. So I know about what's going on. All right. That's how I knew about brain rot. I knew about Labubu's before anybody else. Because you got to be quick on the draw. You have to be fucking aware of what's going on. Because there's nothing to retreat into. There's absolutely nothing to retreat into anymore. Some people say, and this is very sad, but let me just tell you the truth. Some people say, I can touch grass and take refuge from cyberspace, but all you're doing is going into the hyperbolic time chamber. That's all you're doing. And I learned that term from Zerka, so don't blame me. But that's all you're doing. You're going into the hyperbolic time chamber, and you're like freezing your subjectivity, and you're losing touch. That's all that's happening when you're touching grass. Fuck, isn't that fucked up, by the way? There's like no way to escape. You can go offline, and you won't be immediately confronted with anything, so it'll feel like you have escaped. But insofar as you're trying to win the game of power, you are just tapping out. You can't build a communist politics if you're not talking about Labubu's, at least as a meme. And that's fucked up, but it's the truth. Because this is where it is. I mean, this is where it is. Information. There's nothing else. There's nothing to retreat into. There's no grand mass march to retreat into outside of this indiscriminate flux of information that is bombarding us. And there's no way to escape or avoid it. No way. There's no way to. And that's the truth. And this is a hyper-American perspective. If we want to win, we have to be the fastest. We have to be the quickest. We have to be the most rapid and quickest to the draw when it comes to information as a battle space. It is the most fundamental battle space according to DARPA and the fucking Rand Corporation. If you want me to summarize Hyper-Americanism, Hyper-Americanism means charging first into the information battle space without any pretension whatsoever that there is some real world you can retreat back into. That means you go in and it's 100% risk. And you think about the history of infrared, and that's exactly what it fucking is. I was a live streamer on Twitch streaming 10 hours a day, and I did fucking everything. Everything. There's not a single stupid thing that I would get attention from that I wouldn't turn into a meme. If I'm getting negative attention, it didn't matter what kind of attention it was. It was all the same. Clout is clout, right? Any attention I would get, I'd have to take it, turn it into a meme, and multiply it. Because there's nothing worse than being a nothing. Nothing. I did fucking everything on Twitch. I did, well, not everything, so to speak. But I had confidence. I didn't give a fuck what people think of me. Who gives a shit? Who are you? There's nothing worse than being nothing in this game. Now, if you don't want to play this game, I respect you. But if you're trying to dominate discursively and realize a completely new principle of politics that comes at the expense of everything that has ever come before, if I'm going against all these fucking institutional gatekeepers that have Soros money, I have to fucking do it. I've got to jump in with confidence and grow at all costs, because that's my only capital. That's all you can fucking do. I don't have George Soros. I don't have Roy Singham money. I don't have any of it. And if you're trying to realize a new principle of politics, this is the only fucking way you can do it, because every institution will block you. And I was blocked. Every institution that approached me, and I approached them before I was a streamer. With a few, accelerationist people are great. Nothing against them. But as for others, they always try to neuter your shit. They always try to domesticate it and pacify it and fucking ruin it. Make it compatible with them. I wanted my writings to be a grenade thrown into the consciousness of the bourgeoisie. I wanted my writings, I wanted my discourse to be revolutionary. And every fucking institution will sabotage you and block you from your message getting anywhere unless it's neutered. The only fucking thing I had to get my message out was to become a fucking crackhead on Twitch. And I don't regret a fucking thing. Why? Because I'm a fucking American, bitch. That's why. I don't give a fuck what you think. I don't give a fuck what your opinion is. I don't give a fuck. Whatever judgment you cast upon me doesn't matter, because you're a piss ant. And I have full spectrum dominance over your fucking airwaves. That's my mentality, and that should be your mentality too. Who the fuck is anyone to judge us about a fucking thing? There's no civilization. We're in the Wild West. There's no Oxford anything that can judge us for a fucking thing. We are in the Wild West. It falls upon us to create reputation. It falls upon us to create civilization. It falls upon us to create hierarchy and order. None exists out there. You think I give a fuck if a professor looks down on me? You think I give a fuck if a journalist doesn't respect me? You think I give a shit if some fucking prostitute politician doesn't have my respect? Fuck you, I'm American, bitch. There is no respect. There's only do or die. Quick on the draw or you're fucking dead. Saber-tooth tiger shit. The tiger that spares the lamb dies. And that's it. And that is our existential reality. We are not normatively claiming it's what we want. We are not normatively claiming it's ideal. We're not claiming this is our utopia. We're claiming it's our reality because it fucking is. Noam Chomsky would get jumped in the hood and beaten up. Mehdi Hassan would get robbed and punked out and knocked out on the fucking sidewalk in this Wild West of a country. You know what respect means? Keeping it trooping, holding your own, and being quickest on the fucking draw. That's all it fucking means. There's no credibility. I don't give a shit what you're upset about you. I don't give a fuck what Oxford gave you. I don't care what awards you got. Fuck your Nobel Prize from Sweden and shove it up your ass. It means nothing to me, Hazaldin. Because at the end of the day, on the sidewalks of Los Angeles, when the crackhead reaches for their shard of glass, your Nobel Prize doesn't mean a fucking thing. It's a showdown at noon. Whoever fucking survives, survives. That's the truth. That's America. Your lineage means nothing to me. Your 23andMe means nothing to me. Are you royalty? Are you the king of Jordan? And I don't give a fuck, bitch, because here we're all equal. Fuck you. I don't care what tribe you're from. I don't care what family you're from. I don't give a fuck what lineage you claim to be from. I don't care if you're saying you're an Aryan this. I don't give a shit. How do you hold your own in the fucking wilderness? Because that's all that makes what a fucking man is. How do you hold your own in a social wilderness when you have nothing but the objects of your own creation to rest upon? Nothing but what your word is, nothing but what you stand upon, and how faithful you can be to that. People didn't understand 2021 Haas. They really didn't fucking understand. They thought, is this guy crazy? What's wrong? No, you've all gone crazy. Your whole society has gone crazy. It doesn't exist anymore. It's a simulation. There's no normal. There's only the logos has been uploaded to the cloud. You hear that? The logos has been uploaded to the cloud, and there's nothing of it, not a single trace of it, that exists offline. And if we want to be human, again, we have to discover it there in the cloud. Through that, the thing that we need to introduce to the information age is the communication of silence. The essence of social nihilism rests in the experiential modality according to which nothingness is nothingness. And that is the law of identity from ancient Greece. But nothingness is not nothingness. In the nothingness lies the totality of a determination that includes appearance. This is like Ibn Arabi. This is some Abbasid wisdom I'm dropping on you. But in that silence where there is a lack of information, so silence or nothingness, I'll explain it to you like you're 5. When you turn your iPad off, you're not experiencing anything. And therefore, you think there's nothing. If it's not on my iPad, then it doesn't exist. But nothingness is not the same as non-existence. This is a nothingness of your immediate experience. So the rediscovery of signifiers, and this is by nature what signifiers do, that communicate lack, inconsistency, non-immediacy, abstraction, difference, otherness. If we can rediscover signifiers that communicate these things and successfully turn them into information and memes, we can recreate the fundamental premises of civilization itself. Respect for otherness, respect for difference, respect for someone, even if you're not seeing them. Just because somebody's not posting anymore doesn't mean they don't exist and they are unworthy of your consideration, even in your prayers. Just because you're not immediately experiencing their existence doesn't mean you should have no regard for their existence. It sounds like Eastern mysticism to me, and that's exactly what Hyper-Americanism is. Hyper-Americanism is the intensity of the ceaseless, contemporaneous flow of information, infinitesimally approximating the Sophianic Eastern wisdom of silence. The whole point of Hyper-Americanism is unleashing the Asiatic mode of production. Hyper-Americanism is literally about the final process of the long dormancy of Asia coming to an, or Eurasia more specifically, coming to an end. It passes through Hyper-America, Pleistocene, saber-toothed tiger America, through Alaska, through the Siberian land bridge, and it's an explosion of the Asiatic mode of production and the reconstitution of the global world empire of Genghis Khan and Tamerlane. And that's the whole thing going on with Hyper-America. This is why I keep saying Hyper-Americanism, can we stop thinking this is a European project? Many European white people are here. They're the foundation of the USA in great part, and I acknowledge that. But we are all mutating through Lysenkoism to a new land where there's saber-toothed tigers and megafauna from the Ice Age. This is a strange, alien, powerful land, and it's ours, and we are attributes of the land, and nothing from the old world. I am an Arab, but we're all Tartarian now, motherfucker. Anyway, now for an awkward part. Now, how many of you guys have played Call of Duty games or Battlefield? I'm talking about the story mode. Movies, most movies about the military that are fiction. What's the common denominator? Haas's cult relies on group shaming and intimidation. Now, what I'm about to tell you is going to make sense of the entire storyline of all of those games, which is the realization that has come to kind of terrify and scare a lot of the military-minded ideologists in America, American ideologists, because, you know, these games are made by the military. I hope you know that. But there's something strange about these games that are made by the military. The storyline always revolves around the following theme. What if a rogue, shadowy, parapolitical formation that is completely at odds with the fundamentals of American liberal democratic values took control of the machinery of the U.S. military? Like, what if this, like, rogue group that doesn't believe in our ideals took over everything? Every Call of Duty game is about that. It's Modern Warfare 2. Every single one. It's not just the ones the Patriots from Metal Gear Solid, sure. And this is why Metal Gear is so cool, because this is not just about conspiracism anymore. This is about the nature of power. and let's put it, the determination of the moral purpose of state. The information age didn't just upload every facet and aspect of our civilization. It also uploaded the very principles that govern our existence at the political level. And if that's true, the machinery of state and politics has become an empty machine, and the ghost has transcended the machine, and the ghost is also on the cloud. And by the ghost, I mean the abstract kind of intangible values and principles that guide and govern the development of our society. Now, there's a type of structural reductionism that basically says, it's like Marshall McLuhan, who says the message is the medium, and you can kind of transpose that logic, that structural reductionism, to this notion that, okay, the U.S. military and the U.S. state machine and its bureaucracy is a kind of material base, and regardless of whatever parapolitical actors are trying to hijack it, they're always going to be determined by it, because the structure itself forms the foundation of all of the principles. And I actually disagree with that, because, for example, there are some kind of Heideggerian ecologists and decolonial thinkers, and they'll be like, the notion that an M4 rifle is a tool is wrong, because the medium is the message, and the tool actually defines the values and the content of the actor. For example, if you are a gorilla in the forest and you're using Western technology, they might say, actually, this is not just a tool. By using Western technology, you are becoming dominated by the Western paradigm of dominating nature, and it's a form of cultural colonialism. And this kind of suicidal way of thinking has taken hold in many of the universities of developing countries as a way to prevent people from building nuclear weapons. Because what are they saying? They're saying in the academies that, hey, if you build nuclear weapons, you are subordinating yourself to the Western paradigm of coloniality and the Western notion of the domination of nature, and so on and so on. And that it's not just a tool, it's also something that comes to determine the content of what you are as a human being. And anyway, in a lot of ways, it's some cynical bullshit that's just being said to prevent brown and black people and yellow people from challenging the West. That's kind of what it is. But there is sort of a grain of truth to it, but it's just it's not dialectically drawn out by these academics, and they're too stupid to understand that this is also the dialectic of the redemption of Western civilization as well, and in Western society. That's part of a dialectic that involves an interaction by the non-Western peoples in such a way that they appropriate the very tools and means that used to dominate them. Anyway, I don't want to get into this topic. Although it's fascinating and very interesting, it's not the goal of what I'm trying to talk about. Put shortly, the whole machinery of government has become a tool rather than an ends in itself. And so there are all sorts of rogue, crazy actors that are operating at the heights of power, competing and fighting in ways that are not politically evident. And this is the whole purport of the parapolitical way of thinking, by the way. That's why it's called parapolitics. This is what that is. And since these things have become a kind of tool, they are also tools that don't have a clear default governing principle. So if you want to look at things parapolitically, there's this weird network of Epstein and Mossad and the British MI6 and the CIA, and then these weird informal networks of power that are like a shadowy force pulling the strings. But then there's all sorts of other kind of actors and forces. Sometimes I think, how far does it go? One of the things that fascinates me about the Trump administration is what it has contributed to the imagination. Because sometimes it feels, and I'm not saying sometimes it proves or this is the case, but sometimes it feels this way because of a breakdown systemically of the junction between traditional neoliberal ideology of the U.S. state and the actual machinery of the U.S. state. Now, clearly, there is some kind of strange Epstein clear continuity involved. There is a deep parapolitical continuity between all the previous administrations and the Trump administration. But at the level of information, of these kind of more ethereal principles that exist in the information battle space, there is a total discontinuity. Trump is not communicating or there's no transmission anymore of the U.S. neoliberal democratic ideology, of the U.S. as a democracy or whatever. Trump rhetorically, and in terms of a lot of the decisions he makes, let's be completely honest, his values are not aligned with the values of Ronald Reagan, of George W. Bush, of George Bush, of Obama, of Biden, and so on and so on. So it lends one's imagination to the conclusion, what if Trump is like secretly our guy and he's like a communist and he just like hijacked the whole fucking US state and like he hijacked the military, he hijacked everything. They managed to get up there and do that from the Cold War. There's like Comrade KGB Trump. It's still the US military, but like it's now under our command. That is a funny thought. It's not the truth at all, and there's no possibility this is the case. But because of the disjuncture of the informational principles that govern the U.S. state, it certainly can feel that way. It certainly liberals have this feeling. And this is where QAnon is coming from and whatever, right? Now, what's the truth about Trump and why? The truth about Trump is that he's a boomer. Why am I saying that he's a boomer? And why does that matter? Because the boomer structure that rules us doesn't actually depend upon information age principles to govern. The parapolitical continuity of Trump with all post-war government and administrations is still, it's a vampire that's still ruling us. It's people that use the fax machine and use typewriters and are still figuring out how email works. They are ruling us! And it's an informal shadow network from the post-war period. And they don't live or die by the transmission of information in order for their principles to align. They don't depend upon that. So the people that control Trump, which is the same as any other U.S. administration, the whole informational principles, the Disneyland, Reagan, liberal democracy bullshit, they don't depend upon that and they don't live or die by it. It's just something that they use to basically trick the masses. But they are still touching grass on Epstein's island, offline. They're not on the internet. Now, that's because they're boomers. That's why the generational war is so important to understand. Because which generation is going to cut all connections to organized forms of control and power and fully embrace the information age as the fertile soil out of which the principles of a new state and a new form of power will be wrought? Our generation. We will do that. And we're the only ones who do that. And when we do, we are taking this bitch over. When we do, all the systems of control, all the infrastructure of power and control, the storyline of Call of Duty will come true. It will be hijacked. It will be hacked into and hijacked by our fucking virus. The infrared vision will be the animating principle of all the fucking infrastructure and systems of control that we have today. And it'll be like a malign virus taking all of it over. Metal Gear Solid type shit. We will become the Patriots. Now, no. We will smash the state machine. But to be clear, we represent an alternative principle of governance and statehood. And all the power of the current U.S. regime will be changed, will be reforged into the power of a proletarian dictatorship. A cybernetic horde, like the Mongol horde, overwhelming the system. All the boomer institutional continuity, all that shit won't fucking matter for anything. All the bluffs will be called. And I am Solid Snake, bitch. That's as simple as that. We taking this shit over. There will be a day when we are the ones in control of the entire, all the F-22s, all the fucking whatever tanks, Abram tanks, we will own it ourselves because we're taking it. Entire military bases will defect to us, just like in the October Revolution. The October Revolution was the Russian military in mass defecting to and becoming the Red Army. We will seize and become the power. We're not hippies. We're not here to fucking live naked in the desert in communes. We are here for supreme state dictatorship and full spectrum dominance over what is now called the USA and Canada. And this bitch is ours. We are more American than the US government. We are the true Americans. The true Americans are the ones that are quickest to the draw. It's as simple as that, and that's us. We are the real America, and we are the true Americans. We are the saber-toothed tigers. We are the gorillas. We are the Mongol hordes in the Grand Canyon about to conquer everything. We are the Master Chief. We are the Master Chief. It's speed. It's speed and it's quickness, okay? Like hyper-American, rapid, modern, speed, quickness, swiftness, effectiveness. That's us. Infrared is more powerful than the CIA. You know, we are literally shadowboxing the CIA in the astral realm. I'm not even fucking kidding. Like, we are penetrating this astral realm of like remote viewing and all this crazy shit with our great faith and vision. And they are shocked and befuddled and baffled about it. They're like, what the fuck are these guys doing here? We are interfering with their airwaves. We're not supposed to be here, but we are, and they're fucking confused about how and why. Because we are America. This is us. The dreamland that you inhabit to manipulate and MK Ultra this population, they're our fucking dreams. And we started lucid dreaming, motherfucker. Now we're in this bitch. Now we are Neo in the Matrix. We took the red pill. And Agent Smith is confused about interference in the system. Do I sound like a schizophrenic? Good. We're fighting them in the astral realm. I'm not even kidding. Like, they're baffled at how we are able to like be here and move how we move, and they don't understand it. They still don't understand it. It's kind of funny. People say, oh, this is a CIA op. You know, it's kind of flattering because they're basically saying we look like we present a level of effectiveness, competence, and power so great that they could not fathom it comes from anything but the highest levels of control and power of the US government. They're basically fucking saying we have so much aura and power and prestige, dynamic, lethal elegance, that they're like, this must be the Patriots from Metal Gear Solid. And that's a compliment, motherfucker, because we do control the discourse. It's us. I am the fucking director of vibes, and I am the director. Dare I say, I am the true director of infrared intelligence, universal intelligence. I am the director of universal intelligence, aka the Hegelian world spirit. It's me, not Tulsi Gabbard. The national... Shut the fuck up, you're a LARPer. I'm the director of the literal Hegelian world spirit. That's the level that I'm on. All the CIA, the DHS, the FBI, you name it, they're a bunch of boomer dinosaurs. I have the vision. I am locked in with the vision, the Hegelian world spirit, the real intelligence, okay? It's literally the objective intelligence of the world spirit, just like Reza Nagaristani, my shadow Sufi handler from ancient time, who I met one time. It's a crazy parapolitical connection now, but that is what we're talking about, intelligence and spirit. It's his book. Why has nobody read Reza's book, Intelligence and Spirit, and nobody talks about it, and there's never discourse about it? Because everyone on social media is cattle. They're retarded. If there were smart people, they would be talking about Reza. They would be talking about his works and his books. They would be debating about them. They would be making memes about them. But they're not doing it because they're a bunch of fucking retarded cattle who have an elementary and rudimentary familiarity with the surface level philosophical memes that they indulge in and talk about. It's important to think about how, because of the acceleration of the informatization of society, if you will, all the tangible and even intangible structures and systems of control have acquired, to some extent, a neutrality. It's like what Gramsci said. This is about the relative autonomy of the superstructure with respect to the base. But the superstructure has taken the ultimate form of what we call information. And the flux and stream of information is just a matter of time. It's a matter of being more rapid. Whatever information can dominate first and have the most volume and be the most rapid in terms of its transmission is what defines the purpose, the moral purpose, and the aims and the ends of the various structures and systems and institutions of control that rule us, which are being absorbed into the base, and they are no longer worthy of the name superstructure. Now, I did some research. Do you want to know what countries comprehend information as the most fundamental dimension of battle space? It's actually Russia and China. I was surprised. I thought it was going to be America that understood this the best, but it's not. It's Russia and it's China, especially China. See, every time I learn something about the world, I learn that I'm already Chinese. I know that I'm Chinese because the Chinese think exactly like how I already think. because I am Chinese, because I am a Maoist. So they think exactly how I just told you. The true hyper-Americans of the 21st century right now are the Chinese. The dragon doesn't hesitate. The dragon is fast. The dragon is swift. The dragon is the saber-toothed tiger of Asia. China is hyper-American as a civilization. But we can't be China. I don't like China boos that live in the West and in America because they're just red sock dems who don't understand that for China to have arrived at where it is now, they needed Mao Zedong and they needed barbarism. That's why I'm not one of these people who are just, my politics is just China boo stuff. That's not my politics. My politics is barbaric like Mao Zedong because China already had a Mao. America never had its Mao. And we need that. And we can't just emulate China without going through all the fucking shit China had to go through to get to where it is now. That's literally what I'm trying to say. You know, people are increasingly being like, China has a better system. Why can't we be more like China? Because we need to go through our warlord era and have our fucking Long March first and have our fucking Mao. We are not going to educate our way into Chinese socialism. There is a certain Vijay Prashad contingent of China boo leftists who are bourgeois socialists because they think that you can educate yourself into Chinese socialism, and they don't understand that the gap that separates current America or the West from China is an immense revolutionary change. China already had its revolutionary change. China's fine and China's chill. But we will never ever be able to be more like China until we have a metabolic rift in our state tradition that introduces the logic of Leninism through the fires and crucible of revolutionary chaos, which is coming. We're entering a warlord era, and these cowards that have glasses, like Vijay Prashad, they will never, ever, ever provide any principles, provide any value, provide any kind of guiding vision to help us through that. I love today's stream. I hope MIG makes a video out of it.